This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to a special bonus episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Pleasure as always to be joined by from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin. Calum, we're 3 days away from the big event of Christmas. Boxing Day is nearly upon us. That Christmas stuff doesn't mean nothing in it. It's Boxing Day we like, isn't it?
It's a Boxing Day bonanza of racing. 11 meetings, 8 of them jumps across the Britain Island. So yeah, it's really busy, and even seeking some value in that isn't too great at the moment. There's quite a lot of shorties as well.
There is that. What we're going to do is we're going to obviously take some questions. We'll speak a wee bit about the Christmas card. We'll preview the big grade ones, the kind of big handicaps, the Welsh National and the Paddy Power Chase, and then we'll move on. We've got a wee Ante post pick at the end. First of all, with the first question blends into the news that's just breaking as we're recording this. Favourite Christmas racing memory? We are obviously just a few minutes from hearing the passing of Q Card. My favourite Christmas racing memory was Q Card winning the King George, beating Vautour late on. I remember Q Card just came from a different stratosphere to win the King George, beating Vautour, who I had high hopes for. That was going to be his marker to go and win the Gold Cup. Q Card, an amazing horse, a remarkable to win a champion bumper. And then to go and win a King George, be close in a Gold Cup, just a remarkable horse.
A terrific horse. One of the that everyone I think had a soft spot for in a really strong chasing era. You know, he won the bumper at Cheltenham in a massive price. You know, as a real youngster, it's kind of defied all sorts of trends. So you knew the real one there, and just to maintain that career progression throughout and win a lot of big races was quite the achievement. Always remember that era of Vautour and the Don Cossacks.
Yeah.
And was Silviaco Conti was still kind of just about hanging about then as well. So yeah, there was plenty of real kind of brilliant division, and he was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. What was your favourite Christmas racing memory? If I was to pick you for one, what would it be?
Putting my selfless hat on, it would be Mike Bite winning the King George, because I think that was probably one of my biggest bets around here. He went off 64, but also the forecast and double shuffle was second to him. He was 33s back to him each way. So yeah, I remember being in a night out or a day out in Boxing Day and sneaking out to watch it in the middle of Glasgow and being really happy and returned, and had no worry about payment that day and into New Year for that fact. So Mike Bite's a horse that's done a lot of favours, and that King George was certainly one of them. Silviaco Conti's first King George as well was probably my first significant bet as well that I've had. The King George has been, in general terms, a pretty kind race.
Yeah, we'll get into the King George later on this year, and we'll try and find a winner. Speaking of this year, what would be the biggest story of Christmas in the racing front? What would be the one headline you think you would take away right now if it was everything went to plan?
Not to dampen everyone's Christmas cheer, but if Constitution Hill get beat or something like that, or Facile beat, I think that's a bigger story than anything winning. I think they're so short, they look so bomb-proof in everyone's eyes that, if somehow there was a chink of armour, like when Epitome get beat in the Christmas hurdle, that didn't seem likely. I know this would be a much bigger shock than that, but you look at the prices, and from a betting heat anyway, you'd think it's quite hard to see a lot of these odds-on prices get beaten. And if a couple do, which does tend to happen now and again, I think that might be a bigger story than anything. I'd like to see La Home Press win the King George for Venetia Williams. I think that would be a great story. Something slightly different.
Yeah, the one I had was if Bob Ollinger won the Christmas hurdle, that's obviously named after Jack de Bromhead. That'd be some story, obviously. You'd love to see Henry win it, obviously in memory of his son, but also it'd be Bob Ollinger coming back and winning a race like that, and it would just be a nice moment, I think, for the de Bromhead family and everybody connected if that was to happen, I would say.
Yeah, it would be fantastically emotional if Envoyal as well. If he somehow got him back to form and win win a King George. That would be quite a story as well. So yeah, there's plenty there. The emotion around it for the Brown family this season is going to be particularly tough to deal with. But I mean, it puts everything into perspective, and if you get special wins, then it's going to be even more cherished.
Yeah, without a doubt. Next question: with the news about Sir Gerhard potentially being out for the season, could Willie Mullins potentially move Appreciate It or El Fabiolo towards a Turner's plan? Sir Gerhard, I think the vibes were kind of in recent weeks that there was potentially everything wasn't quite right, and I think now we're kind of. Richard Thompson yesterday said that they're potentially not going to be there for Cheltenham. It's looking like kind of there's a few horses he's planning towards the Arkle that would he potentially switch one of them to the Turners if it opened up?
They both El Fabio and Appreciate It, I think, would probably get 2.5 miles anyway. So yeah, there is definitely scope for that to happen. In terms of Sir Gerhard, he put a lifeless run at Punchestown, and I don't think he's quite over that yet. And they're not going to rush a talent like that to get him back. But he is ultimately going to lose out on the main bones of a season where he should be in his prime. He's kind of already been training weak. There was kind of small updates that wouldn't inspire you with confidence. A bit like Vauban, and a little bit in this season might be a bit of a write-off. Not completely. They might get one run into him towards the end, but yeah, he just strikes me that he's a horse that's just had a few kind of niggly setbacks, and it's not worth the risk of rushing. Which one would you put up 2.5 miles at the moment? It's difficult. Probably Willie Mullins doesn't know, because two El Fabiolo and Appreciate It both have similar strengths but very different drawbacks. Appreciate It is reliability. He's had a few niggles. He might be difficult to train slightly. El Fabiolo is just his jumping. He's pretty inexperienced in comparison to where Appreciate It is in his career. Age being the main different factor, but I think if they really take John Bond seriously, they probably want to have another crack with him, with El Fabiolo. And
yeah, I'd say so.
They want him to go to the Arkle. I think you see that's the plan. I think the Connections last year had unfinished business with Blue Lord. I think they'll be keen to go there. And I think if any of them go up and trip, it'd probably Appreciate It. But in the short term, if El Fabiolo doesn't brush up and he's jumping up in grade in what would probably be an Irish Arkle, then you might have to bite the bullet and run both. Flame Bearer can drop back down and trip. We've got Dysart Dynamo coming out in the 27th for the beginner's chase. He looks like a bit of a speedball. He'd definitely be a 2 miler in most people's books. So there is options there. And even though that, a main star has kind of left the scene for Willie Mullins, there's plenty there to still, shake up his cards and see where he's going to go.
He's also got the thing as well, Mullins, where he's got maybe 5 or 6 kind of 3 milers who could potentially drop down. Now, the case would be what one you look at, maybe like Classic Getaways. Could he go down and trap Manila Cooner? You've said that before. He does have a lot of depth in both sides. It's just, does he have it in the middle? So do you take one from what the shorter division or the longer division, and try and kind of find the perfect one? He does have options. And you've said it, when we both said it, if anybody knows how to get a horse to Cheltenham, it's Mr. Willie Mullins. So there are a lot of options he's got.
Yeah, I quite like Manila Cooner at 2.5 miles. I think he's deceptively quick. I thought he was at the Bartlett. He led that race and he held on quite well to be second. He was a distant second at the end. His racecourse introduction, I thought he jumped really well from the front. Very efficient, quick over his obstacles. Didn't strike me as a 3 miler. I think he needed better ground to be shown to better effect that day. Classic Getaway would probably be a 3 miler, but again, he's had historical niggling problems, and be aware of what happened to Monkfish at that race. The kind of the 3 mile and stay novice chasers and hurlers, for that instance, it can take a bit. So you'd have to be a bit mindful of that. His only entry in the 3 mile novice chase is Gallard de Menil. Now everyone had him pigeonholed as a national hunt horse, so even the national hunt chase scene could be dropped down to 3 miles, because he's certainly got enough class for that. To play a really strong hand. So Yeah, there's plenty of options, and I'm pretty sure that he won't be losing too much sleep over what's going
No,
on.
I wouldn't have thought. So, final question: if you were to own one horse, what trainer would you pick to train it, and what jockey would you pick for a one big race? Who would you? I would go trainer, potentially Lucinda Russell,
So would I, yeah.
and jockey. I think I would put. I've said I would put. I would if I owned horses, I would put Rachel Blackmore in everything I owned because she's just a. I think she's an artist, honestly.
Oh yeah, really, yeah. So I think that would probably be the same. I think a really big horse for a big occasion. I definitely put Rachel Blackmore on board. Trainer Lucinda Russell for locality reasons, so I can actually see the
Yeah.
horse. I think that would be one thing. If you're doing it for fun, you could send it to Shark Hanlon if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could have a lot of fun with that. But if it was up to Lucinda Russell, and because you get Peter Scudamore there as well, you've got kind of two for the price of one, aren't you? You've got two brilliant kind of horse people looking after your horse, and it seems to make sense.
Yeah, it would. No, I mean, it depends what you want in the game as well. You know, if you want access, and locality is a good place. There's plenty of good Scottish trainers up here. Nick Alexander, Keith Dalglish, Ian Jarden. There's so many in the Northern Circuit as well that are continuously underrated.
Yeah, let's get into our Christmas preview. So we'll move into Kempton on Boxing Day. We've got 4 Grade 1s to talk about. We'll start with the big one, the King George. The declarations have been that everything's been declared. No horses haven't entered it. It's a very open King George. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's the best King George I've ever seen, but it's certainly open. You look Brave Man's Game 15-8, Long Press 9-4, Hitman 6-1, Envoy LN 15-2, 16-1 by but likes a Royal Pagaille, High Senor, Frodon's 1-4. Eldorado, Allen and Miller's Bank. It's open.
I think it's just a relief that this is held up better than expected, because like a 4 or 5 runner job for quite some time. Ante Post. So I mean, if you had a fancy Ante Post ticket, you'd be a bit miffed at how all 9 have held their ground. The first thing that strikes me in this race is there's a lot of pace in it. There's a lot of front runners. Frodo and a Hoyce and your Roy Pagaille can go forward. Brave Man's Game likes to race handy. Lahon Press, we've seen him race handy. That's initially in favour of speed horses, but if your jumping can hold up and you can stay in the mix, then stamina is going to come into play. This could pan out like last year when Tornado Flyer came late and won. I do think generally there is an advantage to holding your position at Kempton, and the fact that the rain is coming, I think Lahon Press is going to take quite a lot of beating, providing that he handles this track. And I've not seen much evidence suggest that he shouldn't. And I think he's versatile enough in that regard to deal with it. He's not just kind of a one-paced plodder.
No, I think you saw it was a big step forward in the rehearsal a few weeks ago. To win off that mark, and he's now sitting there. I think he's the highest rated in the race, actually 170. Yeah, you get Envoy Lane 165. The two I can't have are Hitman and Envoy Allen in this race. I don't think it's going to suit Envoy Allen, and is Hitman good enough to win a race of this nature? I think I've not seen enough to say he's going to win a Grade 1 at 3 miles. Brave Man's Game. I found it interesting what Paul Nicholls said a couple of weeks ago. He says if he wins this, he's going to go straight to the Gold Cup. I haven't heard that been mentioned by Paul Nicholls up until now, this is the plan to go to the Gold Cup. It seemed to be this is the be all and end all for this horse. Now, Nicholls targets it. Nicholls was won it 12 times. He knows how to win this race. But why now is he talking about the Gold Cup when he's never mentioned it?
I just think it's a future plan with him. He's not really. It's not like a Clandale situation where he's not said Brave Man's Game can't handle Cheltenham.
Yeah.
He's beaten by 2 good horses in the day there. There was nothing to suggest that the track's a problem. So my surprise was that if Allaho came out the Ryanair, Brave Man's Game would be the biggest beneficiary, because he'd be able to dominate that race and use his speed and catch me if he can stuff, which is where he's at his best. And it looks like a race where nobody's going to turn up as well, to be honest. He excels in small fields when he can dominate, dictate, and is there a lot behind the bonnet when he's genuinely challenged? Well, his jumping can take that out of the equation and make sure that there is no challenge. that's his racing style. So I was surprised to think Gold Cup. I thought he'd be one that you'd put in a Ryanair for a season and then see. He must be confident that he'll stay the trip. If you don't stay at Kent, you won't stay anywhere else in the land. I'd be more in his camp if there was a 4 or 5 runner race here rather than 9.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot there. He likes to race wide and on his own. I'm getting surname vibes from him. I can see him bombing out if he can't get his own way. And there's horses in here that will not allow it. He can go in behind and race amongst horses, but at this level, this class, and I just think if Lahon Press is there 2 out, even if Envoy Allen's there 2 out, you know, I wouldn't trust him to win. I wouldn't trust him to find and win. He'd need to. Someone's going to win 20 lengths, probably be him.
Yeah.
Given his style, he could put them all under pressure, force mistakes maybe. But equally, you have that. You've always had at the back of the mind with him is what is he going to find when it comes to pressure? And this race looks hotter than expected, and I think he will be asked that question of, do you have this extra gear? Can you dig deep? I'm not sure it's there. It's definitely there for Lahon Press. Hoy Senior got a bit to prove, but you've got to respect connections for believing that he's still a Grade 1 horse and having a go here. It didn't suit last year at Kempton when he was in novice company that much, but he still plugged on and he did okay. I think I expect things to just be happening a little bit too quickly for him again here. But it's another learning curve in his education for him. Envoy Allen's interesting because his form on flat right-handed tracks is excellent.
Yeah.
It's that travelling query of coming over. You know, he's disappointed before. You know, is he all there?
And did the champion chase it down Royal kind of fall into his lap a wee bit?
It did. Conflated blew up a bit, didn't he? He'd be interested in the Savills chase for sure because he looked destined to come on for that run. It'd fall apart a bit. It's still a Grade 1 that he's won over 3 miles, so you could make a case he's a little bit big. I don't think he's going to be woefully unsuited to this track like Manila Indo was in the interim. So track suitability wouldn't be a problem for me. Again, he is a tricky ride though, and Rachel Black will need to be at her very, very best to keep him kind of honest and interested and keep him chipping away, because there will definitely be times in that race where he will look to be in the back foot. The clincher for me back to Lahon Press is Royal Pagaille being there, because
that's what I was just going to say. Yeah,
Finishy Williams put him in just to make let's ensure that this is a stamina test, and I think that will play into Lahon Press's hands very nicely indeed, and expect him to be primed. I know that you think, that horse will be the Gold Cup, that will be the main aim, is going to be trained quietly to that. You don't win off top weight of 164 if you're not fit in the first place. So I'd imagine that he would be absolutely in fine shape for this. They've decided to come here because they think it's winnable, and I think so as well. I'll be backing him. I
think Lahon Press takes my money here. I've got a wee saver in Eldorado Allen as well. I think he could run a big race. 25 to 1. Is he good enough to win it? Probably not, but he's certainly. You think he's just progressing kind of more and more. You think he might be able to hit the frame here and maybe each way. Can't have Frodon. If Frodon wins this race, I think Great British Racing's in as worse a state as I thought it was. No harm to the horse or the connections. If Frodon, even when he won it a couple of years ago, I was thinking he should never have won that race. And if he was to win it now, I was like, nah. It'd be a good story, obviously, but I just can't have it at all.
Yeah, he was given a freebie in front that week, but there's too many here that will want a piece of the action up front that I don't think he'll be able to dominate things.
So we're both going Lahon Press.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, Lahon Press for me as well. We'll move into the Christmas hurdle. Constitution Hill 1 to 5 to get his second win of the season, and can I just go gung ho for the champion hurdle? 1 to 5 epitants in here. So Royal, Metier, Highway 102. Again, Constitution Hill 1 to 5. It's not it doesn't jump out as an entertaining price, but it's he should just win, shouldn't he?
You'd expect him to hose up in impressive fashion.
Yeah.
Stick him in the multis. That's what I would say. He should win. Barring mishap, he'll win.
Yeah. Big. I just think it could be. I think that'll probably be the kind of one to watch the day.
I would mention is that Epatante does tend to improve for a run, so
Aye.
I'd be interested to see if she could get closer.
Aye.
And a sharper track is a little bit of a question mark for Constitution Hill. This will be sharper. He is a big unit, you know. You've got to shift around those bends quite tightly, but that it really is splitting hairs stuff. He should completely outclass these anyway.
Yeah, big vote for Constitution Hill. We move into the Cottle Star Novices Chase. 5 runners been declared. McFabulous 5-4. Giuliano Bello also for Paul Nichols at 15-4. Time Hill 13-2. Obviously looking to reverse the form of McFabulous. You've got another couple, Gala, De La Two and Mortlack as well. I don't think this is a great race.
I expect McFabulous to win.
Yeah, I think he'll win as well.
Pick there, and he's picked McFabulous, and that's good enough for me. We've always said for a long time that he looks like a type of Cato Star kind of unit, like a bit like Brave Man's Game. Maybe not as spectacular, maybe not as brash jumping wise, but he's certainly efficient enough in this. This should be his bag. I don't see the trip being too much of a problem, and I think Giuliano Bello's the main rival.
I think McFabulous will win. I do think Giuliano Bello is one to take seriously, but as Giuliano Bello, maybe you would think of this between McFabulous and Giuliano Bello, who's most likely to win at Kempton? You would say McFabulous. I would say maybe Giuliano Bello is most likely to win at Cheltenham, kind of thing. So I do think this is more suited to McFabulous. Time Hill, could he bounce back?
No, his jumping's not good enough.
Nah.
I can't see it. Not at Kempton either. I think he'd probably be favoured by a more stamina based track. Disappointing Ballygriffin Cottage isn't quite here. That would have been might have made a race of it. He's probably waiting for something at Warwick New Year, maybe a softer excitement. But yeah, probably neither of them are Cheltenham horses, to be honest.
So
I think, they're going to be Kempton and Aintree specialists this season anyway. I think Giuliano Bello might be, but it's looking hot on the other side of the Irish Sea, that division at the moment. So you can see a familiar movie being played out, and let's just head to Aintree and take it from there.
Yeah, but I think McFabulous will just win. The Long Walk Hurdle as well, obviously rescheduled from Ascot. I think that's a very different race now. It's been run at Kempton. You've got Champ at 5-2. Miranda for Paul Nichols been declared at 3-1. Paisley Park 4s. Goshen 5-1. And Not So Sleepy at 14-1. What do you fancy here? Because I'm going to say something that might sound ridiculous, but I'll let you go first.
There's a precious little I fancy here. This looks like a bit of a punting minefield. Champ is obvious starting point, and he won last time out, touching off Paisley Park, but he usually tends to run well fresh. Trainers previously had concerns about Kempton as a track for him. I think it might be more suitable here. I think he might have enough class to just get away with this. We've got Miranda, the mare that's coming up and coming, so she'd obviously have respect if it was rainy and bottomless. Gosh, she would maybe be in with a shout. I'm reluctant to have a bet in it at the moment. If there was a big disparity in price between Champ and Miranda, then I'd maybe go Miranda if it went out to 4s. But if Miranda came in closer to Champ, then I wouldn't. I mean, the money came for Champ last day, and if it comes in again, I think you'd probably have to follow it.
I think it's very difficult to back Champ in his set and run. As we've seen in the past few years, he never seems to go well in his set and run. So that would maybe put me against him. Miranda, she needs to kind of make a step forward. She's £15 behind. She obviously gets the £7 allowance. Is she going to move forward? I can't stop looking at Goshen, but as you say, it needs to be wet, and I think it's everything needs to go in his favour. Could he just make all and just do them for a bit of toe?
Well, I mean, Goshen's similar to Champ in the way that he's a bit of reliability about him. I thought they both looked a lot better than they have previously. Last time out, Goshen looked a lot more tractable. Looked kind of settle a little bit better. Could argue that he didn't beat much, but he's got it done. He got it done in conditions that were a bit quick for him. So yeah, you could do an argument for pace. Champ isn't short of pace, so
I know.
That's the thing. So I mean, the Kempton thing's more kind of right-handed steering difficulties than pace. So I think you just look at the bare ratings, you just think Champ should probably have enough. But that second time out statistic certainly isn't good for him, and he is getting a bit long on the tooth as well. So you can make cases for everything, because everyone's got their kind of weak point. I would just about stick with Champ at the moment, but I wouldn't be too confident.
I think I'm maybe play Goshen, but it's just what it is. You say, it's one of those races that you could just leave alone. Over in Ireland, we've got 2 Grade 1s to talk about on Boxing Day. The Racing Post Novices Chase over 2 mile, 1 furlong. 5 runners, Phil Dor, Even Money, Hollow Games 3-1, Sanra 5s. We've got Vision, Aryan and Midnight Run. Phil Dor at evens to me looks like the bet of the day, because I don't think the other two kind of close in the market are anywhere near him, and he's getting the allowance. I think Phil Dor to me wins this.
I'd expect him to win. St. might get a bit closer this time. He's probably needed the run a little bit, but again, the weight allowance is still there. And
I don't get the Hollow Games angle at all. If you had said to me this time last year, Hollow Games is going to run in a 2 mile, 1 novices chase, I do not see what they're doing there.
He looked good in his beginner's chase.
I know, but it just still screams to me that he needs further.
I don't think he does. Not over a fence anyway. I mean, we've seen like Banbridge do that. Phil Dor looks like a stayer. A lot of novice chasers can get away with running the minimum trip in their first season. You would stick with what he did originally. So I can see why they're taking the chance. Is he good enough? Maybe not, but his jumping will definitely hold up in this. I think Phil Dor will win. He's probably going to be campaigned as their Arkle horse at Elliott's, given connections and ownership have Mighty Potter.
Yeah.
So you can't really see him going there. So whatever happens, I've definitely got a chance at an Arkle with him.
You surprised Banbridge hasn't gone?
Yes, I think something might have happened there. Disappointing not to see him turn up. And he went out massively in exchanges after not being in, and he's still out. But he's been cut for the tunnels, so I don't know if they're trying to go 2.5 mile route with him, which I wouldn't understand, to be honest.
Limerick, we've also got the Faugheen Novices Chase. Jerry Calum is the 10-11 favourite. Kilcrut's there at 9-4. You've got Adamantly Chosen there as well, authorised that. Jerry Calum, it's going to be soft ground, 2 mile, 3 furlong. Again, Jerry Calum and Kilcrut, 2 decent horses. I've been saying that this seems to be perfect for Jerry Calum.
Like Jerry in the multiples.
Yeah.
He'll win.
Yeah, he'll win.
Unless Kilcrut does him for surprising toe, then that'd be it. But a bit like, last year's Elliot Hot Pot being chinned by Massa McShee. That's the only case I can envisage Jerry Calum getting beat if the trip proves to be a little bit short. But the soft and heavy ground at Limerick usually negates that factor anyway. So you need a strong stayer. He does look a very good jump on a strong stayer.
Yeah, just other things, the 26 as well. Lossy Mouse obviously entered in the juvenile hurdle with the grade 2 at Leopardstown. Couple of interesting entries at Kempton as well. So there's some really good racing in the 26. But we'll move into 27th. There's a couple of big, obviously the Irish Welsh Nationals, a big race on the 27th. You've got Quick Wave kind of becoming is getting a lot of support in the market at 9-2. The big dogs in there, the Galloping Bear. Pat's Fancy, 3 under through 5, the big breakaway. Anything catching your eye for the Welsh National? I think the favourite could be quite good.
Yeah, Quick Wave, Venetia Williams, it's a guy that you give enormous respect to. I wouldn't be looking too far away for the top of the market in this. You tend to look for a soft ground specialist. I quite like the Galloping Bear as a horse. He chucked out last time for dodgy rules and stuff, but I think he's probably back. He's definitely a decent stamina. It's not a problem at all. So yeah, I'd be inclined to row in with him at the moment, but you just have to wait to see how it kind of finalises and see where the market moves are, because there are always big price springers in the race.
Yeah, you've got the likes of Edward Stones obviously entered in the Desert Orchid as well against Nube Negra. The other grade 2 at Kempton is the Wayward Lad. If you look at the field for that, it doesn't inspire you for that. I think it just shows how poor the 2 mile novice chase division in Britain is without John Bon.
It does, but if Boot Hill wins and it franks John Bon's form,
yeah,
it does prove that he's beaten all the right horses, certainly this side of the water. But yeah, it's not a thriller. I give Newbie Negra a chance against Edwardstone.
You're just desperate to get Edwardstone beat, are you?
I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, it's a sharp track. It suits Newbie Negra. He'll be fresh for it. If it goes bottomless, then no, I would avoid it, and Edwardstone will win if there is a word soft in the description. But if it's sharp and Newbie Negra is a good speedster. He's probably the third best horse in the champion chase market as well right now. Newbie Negra. I see his price being nibbled away at. He's short of 16, so obviously people think that he's the third best in that division.
We'll move across the Irish Sea to the 27th as well. We've got the Paddy Rewards Club Chase over 2 mile, 1 furlong. Energy a very noticeable kind of missing factor here, but Chacun Persois, Leopardstown Specialist 11 to 10. You've got Blue Lord at 15 to 8. Captain Guinness seems to be declared for this, but he's also entered at Kempton as well, so it'll be interesting what happens there. Again, Chacun Persois, I think the bubbles burst with him in it comes to Cheltenham, but he loves Leopardstown.
Yeah, he's very good at his home. It's home ground, isn't he? It's a home game for him. Is he going to be fit enough for his first time out? He tends to generally be. It's just whether age is catching up with him. Does Blue Lord have the speed to beat him? I think that's doubtful. So you can see why Chacun Persois is edging favouritism there. I'd probably stick with the old proven performer over the up and coming youngster, because I think Blue Lord might be more of a 2.5 mile. If there's more bad rumours about Allaho and Blue Lord shapes again as if he's a 2.5 miler, which you've already indicated, then maybe stealing an each way price on him for a Ryanair isn't too bad, because it might be a race that completely falls apart.
Yeah, we'll move into the future champions novices hurdle. Facile Vega is obviously the hot favourite to win that. Willie Mullins has got 4 of the 6 entries. Ashrow Diamond, Intranet, Ailey to Tomps. Facile Vega, again, I think he should just bolt up. We'll go even shorter for the Supreme, and it just seems to be the way it is, isn't it?
He's scared an awful lot off already here. Only 6, which is very low for a race of this nature at this point of the season. Yeah, and that itself is an indicator that he'll probably win this. It's Ashrow Diamonds there, so you can get close proximity between the Royal Bond form and Path to Rue, for instance, to Facile Vega. So there are. While everyone will be watching Facile Vega and what he bolts up, it will be interesting to note the length of distance in behind, so we can kind of compare the proven graded form of those that have decided to dodge him, those that have decided not to. So you should get a tentative kind of link there of where he genuinely is, because this is kind of a grade 1 that you'd expect him to kind of take out, because he's scared quite a few of them off.
Yeah. Do you like anything in the Paddy Power Chase?
No, I've not looked at that at all. It's like all these handicaps, the Welsh National as well. I'm happy to wait and see some market moves for a bit of hell here, but there's nothing that screams out at me. No, the big handicap, I think there's ones there that could be interesting for the Kim Muir down the line, but keep my powder dry for that.
Yeah, quite right. We'll move into 28. We've got a couple to mention. Obviously the Jack de Bromhead Christmas hurdle we talked about earlier. Classical Dream 9 to 4, Flooring Porter 5 to 2, Bob Ollinger 7 to 2. You've got Home by the Lee for Joseph O'Brien at 6 to 1. Zani here won't be running, I've been told. This is an open race now. Classical Dream obviously looked quite good against finishing second behind Tia Hupu and obviously beating Honeysuckle. Flooring Porter, will he come on? Bob Ollinger. Very open race here.
Yeah, I just come back round to Flooring Porter though. He lost this because he gave Classical Dream a ridiculous lead. Classical Dream's already been out as well. He's normally much better horse fresh, so surprised he's running here, and I'm surprised he's favourite. I think Flooring Porter will reverse the form with him. I think he'll win. I think Bob Ollinger and Home by the Lee will maybe fight out for second, because see Classical Dream possibly bombing out, to be honest. I think they should know this horse by now not to run him here. In my opinion, he might have got to the bottom of his actual problem, but a bit surprised. Whatever happens here, I'd imagine be put away for the Stayers hurdle after this.
I'd love to see Bob Ollinger win. I do think Florian Porter would have won this last year if he hadn't given Glasgow Dream 7 lengths or something like that. It was a ridiculous lead.
7 lengths at the start. Nobody gave him anything. The starter just let him go. It was bizarre, to be honest. I just think Florian Porter he's still the best steers hurdle there. I mean, I know the contenders are there, but Bob Ollinger finished absolutely legless last time. His finishing effort is just not there. Home by the Lee, probably more interesting price, given if you think that wasn't a complete fluke first time out. But none of them strike me as something that will go out and challenge Florian Porter for a lead. I just think they'll do enough here to win and probably cement favouritism for the Steers hurdle in the process.
Yeah, it could be a very interesting race. I think it's probably one of the most open races of the weekend. It's the Savills Chase, Leopardstown, Applotard 6-4 to bounce back after his disappointing run in the Betfair Chase. Conflated 7-2, Startlers 9-2, Galvin you've got 5-1, 10-1 bar. Applotard, they've kind of discovered something wrong with him. Do you think he's bouncing back here?
This is a favourite to avoid all week.
Think so?
6-4 after that effort. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I'll be back Conflated. He blew up and down Royal. He's won an Irish Gold Cup by poaching from the front under one of Davy Russell's finest rides. I could see him doing something quite similar again. I think Startler will stay on in behind. I think Galvin will stay on in behind. And he's got less to prove than Applotard at this current time, and the prices somehow don't reflect that. So, yeah, I think him at 7-2 is an obvious bet against the favourite. You know, if he went out in the market, you'd be thinking, oh, no, he might be worth a bet now. But then you'd be thinking he's not got over that problem. So I think he's completely unbackable. To be honest, completely unbackable. Even though he's a class horse in the race, I wouldn't trust him in this.
I kind of like Startler. I'm coming down in Startler. I just think he's the improver in the race. Like I just think he won that. You would think can a National Hunt Chase go on and Chase winner go on and can I do well? Now, yes, because you need so much more than just to stay. He didn't look short of toe that day. He looked as if he just could go on and go on. Plus, he had the wee bit of speed just to kind of beat Run Wild Fred. I don't have an issue with backing Startler here at 9-2. I think it's a really good price.
He's a flying ointment, but first time out to win this is like a big effort. It'd be very impressive.
I don't think there's much else. Like if Applotard, the thing with Applotard for me is he? Do you back him? Do you back him here? Do you back him for the Gold Cup, knowing that if he wins here, he goes ridiculously short again?
Just don't back him for anything at the moment. You can't. There was just nothing positive to begin with. It's not like Honeysuckle running on. It's not like tell me something, girl. It's going to be back to this was a start of that was a race that he destroyed last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clear plan. The middle link is supposed to be the weakest link out of the lot. At Christmas, he's came in better form, get beat here.
Mm-hmm.
So if he ran on currently second, third, fourth, then you'd be back in the radar for the Gold Cup. At the moment, I think he's a completely untouchable and backable horse till we see him in the flesh again. Conflated won an Irish Gold Cup. He was sticking on well in the Ryanair, which is a trip that was too short, and he looked set to ask Allaho at least a question, which a lot of horses are just simply unable to do. So I think this is his kind of Gold Cup and interim here. I think he was so weak in that Down Royal chasing the betting that he clearly needed the run, but he travelled into it like the best horse in the race. I think he's a good. I think he's got a very good chance in the Savills Chase this year.
So I'll vote for Conflated for you, and I'm going to go for Startler. We'll move into the Matheson Hurdle on the 29th. State Man's 8-13. Sharjah. I think Sharjah's won the race 4 times. Could he make it 5? Pied Pipers there. Vauban's not going. I think Vauban's entered at Limerick in the same day in a 4-year-old hurdle. State Man, could he go solid second favourite if he wins this?
He will if he wins, yeah. I would expect Sharjah to get closer.
So that
target this season. So yeah, if the price if Stateman becomes silly short and becomes unbackable, then you just have a saver and shatter. You're not going to lose too much out of it. He's the obvious threat, or the forecast might pay nicely. Pied Piper would be a factor. What he finds off the bridle and how he idles isn't that impressive. So I'd expect Stateman to make all, and I expect him not really to be caught, because Sharjah will try and be played late, and Pied Piper will probably try to be played late as possible as well. So I'd imagine Paul Towner will pick Stateman and be aware of that and negate it by being hard to catch. Like, I think he can probably stay 2.5 and interim as well. Stateman, I think he's probably quite flexible. I would expect him to. I don't expect it to be easy, but I expect him to take the next step in the ladder. As for Vauban, he'll go for that Limerick race, which Tia Hooper made a big impression in last season. And I think Willie Mullins will just be hoping for a similar kind of good performance there, and then make a judgment call whether or not to throw him into a champion hurdle. Because this is very much a development season for him now.
Absolutely. Before that, we've got the Neville Hotels Novices Chase at over 3 miles. Guy Duminil is the only Mullins runner. Obviously, this could be a good day for the Donnellys as well. 6-4. Manila Crooner's in there. 3-Stripe Life. Mighty Potter, I doubt's going here. 6-4. Guy Duminil could he finally break his maiden over fences?
6. It's interesting. He's no doubt that he's high class, but you're looking at he's still a maiden, and he's 6-4 to win this against some decent progressive types. I maybe be inclined to give. I'd imagine get too much pace to beat Manila Crooner over 3. He looks like a complete National Hunt chase horse to be. But if Galdemir wins this, and he wins it well, does he become Willie Mullins' main 3-miler? Then he's got no National Hunt chase horse. It's an interesting kind of race in terms of future ramifications. 3-Stripe Life might be worth another chance. I do believe that Gordon Elliott team find it hard to split him and Mighty Potter. That showed in the betting in the last day when Mighty Potter hosed up, and 3-Stripe Life made a big mistake, and David Russell lost his saddle and lost his stirrups, and had absolutely no chance of getting back into it. So that's why he's fresh for Christmas and Mighty Potter isn't. And that's probably quite an attritional race given Banwood isn't there, stuff like that. So it might have taken a little bit out of Galdemir, but he was expected to come on for that run. So there's no doubt that he's high class. He's the one to beat, and I think it's probably between him and 3-Stripe Life, and Manila Crooner probably plodding on one pace and third.
Yeah, Guy Duminil would be a great winner for me. I obviously want him to win for and he'll maybe even go short for the National Hunt Chase. But as a potential here, if he wins this really well, does he then go a lot shorter for the Brown Advisory? And do they potentially look at that? Because it was really interesting they ran him in a Drinmore. There's not many times you'll go for a Drinmore than a National Hunt Chase. So are they maybe thinking that he's good enough? Third in a Brown Advisory last year, so they know he likes to.
If I had him in a National Hunt Chase anti-post slip, I would be desperate for Galdemir not to win this. Because he got Brown Advisory if he wins. If you win a Grade 1 3 miles, you go Grade 1 at 3 miles. You don't go to a Grade 2 and run by an amateur National Hunt Chase and carry a Grade 1 penalty. It'd be stupid. It'd be pointless.
I know, but I just find it weird what they're doing.
There's nothing else in the race. So it's a National Hunt Chase. There's 27 other Cheltenham races that Willie Mullins could win. Shouldn't be bothered about that.
But there's only one that Patrick Mullins can pick for a National Hunt Chase, and he likes to go with the good horses.
He's ready for a winner on the day when Echoes and Rain comes late. So he won't be bothered at all by not having a run on the National Hunt Chase if that's how it goes. We'll find one anyway.
Yeah.
We'll probably go there. Something like that.
Yeah. I do you know that way you kind of want him to win, but you also think if he does win, your anti-post slips, because I've got him at ridiculous prices after the Irish National.
So that's the battle between Wallet and Hart.
Kinda, yes. Then that's the one. But I do
the Wallet when it comes to Galdemir and say hopefully, but don't win.
I do think he'll win. If you get to say a double for the whole weekend, the whole Christmas period, it would be Jerry Calum and Guy Duminil.
I expect Gordon Elliott to have a good weekend, so I think he'll feature in a lot of my multis.
Any interesting kind of entries over the Christmas period, have you noticed? Obviously, Dysart Dynamo's entered the 27th. A couple of bumper entries. Factory Files entered the 27th as well, and the bumper there. I think Facile Vega won that last year as well. Again, some really fascinating entries over the next few days.
Yeah, I just keep an eye on entries turning into declarations and who writes who now. Particularly Davy Russell now at the picture. Jack Kennedy's the undisputed number one Gordon Elliott horse. You're not guessing which one's the best and which one's not between your Three Stripe Lives and Mighty Potters of the world. If Jack Kennedy's on number one, then John Gainford's likely to be on number two and vice versa. So it's a good opportunity for him as a rider, and I really do hope that he gets a clear run at it this season. And he's already surpassed his winning total. So the year, and that said it all about his injury history. So I just hope he gets a clear run at it and shows how good that he really is. There's only one race that I can look at that's a bit different, and it's a Hunter's Chase at Down Royal. We've got some interesting new recruits, Chris's Dream and the Storyteller. Okay. Now, if they retain 85%, 90% of their ability, it's much better form than Billaway. So they're around 8s, 10s for the Hunter's Chase at the moment. Vauxhallet's in that. He's rated 1470. You're talking about nothing's 150 plus in the Hunter's Chase. The Storyteller and Chris's Dream in the prime were better than that. So if they show, and they seem to be doing well in the point-to-point field anyway, so if they show promise, then you could expect that market to flip. Well, it should anyway.
There's also a very interesting run on that race that hasn't run for 800 days. Have you seen that? I haven't looked
too deeply.
Brain Power.
Yeah, well, he's
now trained by Warren Ewing. 800 days since the last run.
Probably an American national as well.
Probably, yeah.
Man there, so yeah, I remember backing him instead of Bouverdaire when that was that ludicrous Open Champion hurdle, and he was a bit off his drop that day. And
I get my bubbles burst with Yanworth again. The 26th is a very interesting maiden hurdle at Leopardstown with High Definition entered. Really good flat horse entered for Joseph O'Brien. Foxfire Glow. You've got Parmion, who comes with a big reputation from France. That could be a really hot maiden hurdle in the first race at Leopardstown on Monday.
See nibbles in the Supreme market for Parmion at big prices.
High Definition's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, see how he progresses. See how he translates his initially good flat form into hurdles. You'd imagine, like from his flat days, he would have the physique for it. I can really hear the jovial comments of him, like staying on forever in classics and say, "Oh, just put him in the Triumph or something for that."
Or my favourite for the Irish Derby, if you remember.
3 or 4, yeah. He had a setback, didn't he? And that kind of stuffing out him a little bit. If hurdles could make a big difference here. He's definitely with the right man for it. He'll definitely know inside out from his early days. So yeah, you wouldn't dismiss him. He'd be probably one of many that'll be interesting to know over the Christmas period.
So lucky 15, I've got Jerry Calum, Gaillard de Menil, Lossy Mouth, and I'll throw in McFabulous. What you got? I'll put you in the spot because I didn't tell you about that before we went on.
The Home Press and the King George. Conflated in Savills Chase. Jerry Colombi in Limerick. And Flooring Porter, Christmas hurdle. That should be 4 reasonable ones.
Brilliant. We're going to move into our Ante post pick. We'll move on to our Ante post pick. We didn't do one in yesterday's show, but this week we do have one each. I'm going to start with you. What have you got for this week before we get into the Christmas period?
Going into the Arkle, Phil Dorr, 12-1 each way.
Okay.
I expect him to win. I think he'll shorten. And even though John Bond's obviously the one to beat, appreciate it. I think there's question marks over his general reliability. El Fabiolo, there's question marks about his jumping early doors. I think Phil Dorr's now developing into next best. I'm a big Banbridge fan, but I expect him to run this weekend. He's not the market points that he's going to go 2.5 miles. I think that's potentially a bit of a mistake. And I think Phil Dorr can use his allowance quite well in the manner that I expect him to be ready for Christmas, like River de Tail was. He's a lot more straightforward. He's better. He's not wayward, and I'm happy that they've not wasted time with him, because he is definitely a chaser, and I like how they're making hay now. And I think there's a strong likelihood that he's going to be in the Arkle anyway, in case something happens, because Mighty Pot's a 2.5 mile horse. So I think with the allowance, with a bit of cut in the ground, which you normally get in the first day because he water it quite reasonably, he's a decent stayer, he's an efficient jumper, and I think he's obviously young enough to keep progressing. So I think him at 12-1 each way for the Arkle is fair enough. Yeah, I think we can get. He can certainly ask questions of John Bowen. I think he can beat the Mullins pair at the moment anyway. There's enough upside to.
Brilliant. I have got a pick in the Pertemps. A very interesting entry in the Pertemps qualifier in the 27th at 12-1. I am going to put up Eric Bloodaxe for Joseph O'Brien. Very interesting entry. I think he could potentially be. It's one of those with the Pertemps. Pertemps qualifier is you hope he doesn't win it. You hope he finishes solidly 5th or 6th.
Well, he needs to be in the top 4 now to qualify.
Oh, is it top 4?
That's the rule now.
They've sorted it. Well, finishes 4th, that would be great. I think this horse has so much ability. And last year, he's been hard to keep right as well. Like, he's been so hard to keep right. Last year, you had him earmarked as a Martin Pipe horse. I could see that angle. I think I think it's natural that Gigginstown seem to like this race. The Pertemps, they always remember Delta Work winning it as well. They always seem to have an angle into it. Usually for Gordon Elliott. This year, I can see Eric Bloodaxe being the angle. 12-1. There's a few interesting entries in that Pertemps qualifier as well. I think Jungle Pros is in it as well, who's kind of similar in the market. The Charles Burns horse is very, very short. I think he's about 5-1. Looks a good horse, to be fair. But I just think Eric Bloodaxe could be something really to take seriously in that division.
Yeah, I think he's shown flashes of getting back to his best. I can definitely see the angle. Probably look at that market, and with the pair, Thompson, it's such a unique unique qualifying schedule.
I didn't know they changed the qualifying again.
Yeah, it's just the front 4, but if you liked him, and he's definitely going to finish 4th mid-race and just take 12s there for the final. I would say, instead of kind of waiting, because I'd imagine there'll be like 25 runners in that contest. So if something untoward happens, then to get knocked back and you're kind of rushing against time to get in qualifying well.
And I'd like to apologise as well. I've just discovered, that shows you how little I know. He's been moved to Gordon Elliott.
He's been moved to Gordon Elliott. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
In the background, yeah, there was a trainer switch. Well, that's arguably an even bigger plus then.
Yes, I think that just cements it a bit more as well. Again,
so yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable each way shout, but it's just as long as in an ideal world, you just prefer to be qualified first, wouldn't you? So I would wait and see if he's coming like 2 out and looking good and looking decent to qualify, then you could probably still nick that price because he'll be snoozing over it. Because there's so much racing going on anyway.
He ran a bit of a stink on the Bartlett. That was the only thing. He ran a real stinker. You could see him at the back in that race, and he never really got into it at all. He was a big price. I think I had him each way, and he was kind of tailed off. But he's definitely got talent, and there's a few Bartlett horses who run stinkers in it and go on to do pretty well and kind of handicaps, things like that. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But he did.
Yeah, definitely. There's handicaps. I mean, I've got quite a few that are mapped out in line, but I'd rather see them. I'd rather wait and see them run, and then just go in and nick a price quite soon after that run, just to confirm that thought in your head that this is where they're going. Because when it comes to handicaps and long-term projects, you do need to kind of see more of the working down the line usually than graded races, because graded horse is a graded horse at the end of the day. You never know what graded horse could be campaigning as a handicap. Look at Galloping to Champ, for instance. If they're running over the wrong trip, or they're trying to, or there's signs of non-tryness there, kind of thing. So there's different ways to get your horse to the right race. You just want to see the right signs through the right trainer trends to see how they get there. yeah, it's a good spot. He's definitely he shapes like a horse that would go well in one of these big Cheltenham handicaps for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be an interesting one. Well, that will wrap us up for this week's episode. Calum, it's been an absolute pleasure, and have a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully have a bit of good luck for the big week that follows.
Yep, you too. All the best.
Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in, and I also have a very Merry Christmas and get lucky over the next week or so, and we'll see you next week for a new episode. Thanks very much. We'll see you soon. Cheers.